Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Diane time is here. That's right. We're talking about The Exorcist 2, The Heretic. One of those does, don't belong, but what do I care? This is Kill by Kill. Greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the old Georgetown neighborhood. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. That's right. We're going to unpack all the goriest of details of The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, in the hopes that a taxi driver's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at his expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust, that if I need to go deep into hypnosis, that her evil counterpart will help me grope a lady doctor. The one, the only Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm fine. I was gonna strap on the JCPenney belt to your head with some wires hanging down with this very high tech device that helps you to tap into other people's dreams and memories.
It's like the future, Gina.
Oh, you thought Strange Days had some futuristic shit. You haven't seen anything yet.
Oh my sweet Jesus! What was the Louise Fletcher flick that comes after this, where they also record people's thoughts?
Brainstorm. The one that's mostly a big deal because it was like the movie Natalie Wood was making when she died.
Right. Exactly. Yes. But that also has somebody die by watching a sex tape.
That's right. Yeah, they like his brain melted or something.
Like, oh my God, sex. And you have to assume like you've had like sex in person though, right? Okay, sure, fine. Anyways, before we get really deep into pre-recorded sex memories, I have to warn you, Gina, we are not alone. That's right. We have a very special guest. He's a writer. He's a horror fan. He's a podcaster. And he's the one, the only Mark Estes. How are you doing today, Mark?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing today? I'm good.
So much better now that you are here to help us with this, in quotes, motion picture.
Yes, it was it was in motion a lot. All over the place.
Now, off mic, we had talked briefly about kind of our previous experience with this. I've watched it a couple times in the hopes that this next time is going to be the one where I go, oh, I get it. And it never happens. Gina's also watched it a couple times, and to her own bafflement. Mark, had you ever watched The Exorcist 2 before?
No, I had not. I had been, meaning to watch it, but every time I watch it, I would get met with like, I tell somebody, I think I'm gonna watch The Exorcist 2 tonight. I get met with some, can't you just jump to part 3? And like, no, I like to go in order. They're like, you really don't have to watch 2. But I'm like, I need to get it out of my system to just go ahead and watch. So thank you so much for inviting me to watch this movie. Give me an opportunity to watch it.
You're welcome.
Through gritted teeth, I thank you.
Gritting one's teeth is more effort than about half the cast give to this motion picture.
Oh, wow.
It should be noted that The Exorcist 2 was directed by John Boorman. Now, previous to this, he had done things like Deliverance, which certainly has a power to it. It's that sort of, backwoods suspense action film horror, combo. And then you have Zardoz, in which a giant flying head statue barfs out guns and yells about penises at people. And has a really great bikini for Sean Connery. And so around that, between those two movies, he was offered, according to him, the original Exorcist. And he turned it down because, quote, I think it's just child torture. It was his response. And so when that was a giant hit and he got offered the sequel, he's like, oh, well, instead of torturing children, I'll just torture audiences instead.
I can see that.
That's right. So this is a very Boorman-esque palette, right? He's playing with big philosophical ideas. And while the original plays with a lot of philosophical ideas, it's also good. Just inherently good. It is well crafted with fantastic effects, amazing performances, a feeling that you are trapped inside a madman's car and you don't know where he's going to drive next, but you're in it for the ride. And here, it's like a battle against sleepiness.
Yes.
It's interesting because it is absolutely incomprehensible.
Yeah.
And yet also boring at the same time.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it is the rare film that can just toe an interesting line between unhinged and boring. That is quite a tightrope act.
Right. It really is, because I balked at how long it was, and I was like, well, but as again stuff, I think the first hour I was like, there's still more. I'm like, where can you go? Because I was still confused as to about what's going on, you know?
Sure. Understandable.
And I was just like, okay, I guess. So she has powers now. So it's just like, okay, well, that's all I kept saying with movies, like, okay. And I tried to go into it, you guys, with an open mind.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
You know, I tried to go into it because, you know, I can be called a sequel apologist. I know some sequels a lot of people don't like. I tend to like take up for. There's some that I just hate venomously, you know.
Mm-hmm. We know a little something about here, Kill by Kill. We went through every kill in the order in which people died for the entire Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street series.
I remember.
So believe you me, we have found ourselves in some cul-de-sacs we did not enjoy the ride to.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but I couldn't just be like, you know, watching. I'm like, maybe this is just a lot of people's mentality. This is a lot of people's opinion affecting my enjoyment of the movie. And my brain was like, child, no, this is just, no. That's not what this is.
Yeah. It's one, you know, I have heard people talk about how they enjoy the ideas on display here, and they're all in for the, you know, the great 70s model photography of it all, and the Ned Beatty, you know, side sequel that happens in the middle of the movie. Like,
Right.
there are interesting things happening here, but it's such a mishmash, and it makes sense because the movie drew all this talent. Because the playwright William Goodhart wrote the original screenplay for this. Linda Blair reads it and goes, I would never do an Exorcist sequel, but I would do this one. This is great. And Richard Burton reads it and goes, oh my God, I'm going to get an Oscar. And Louise Fletcher, after just getting an Oscar, is like, I'm jumping on board this thing.
What is she even doing in this movie?
No fucking clue. Other than
heaven.
She looks great. She
Yeah.
looks fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
Borman's like, you're a very handsome woman. I'm going to photograph you well. Congrats. She's never looked better on screen before or after, but man, there's like a nothing happening in her role.
Yeah, no, she the only character more useless than her is Sharon.
Yes. Yes.
Played once again by Kitty Wynn, returning from the original movie. And I think about halfway through the movie, she literally gives up acting. Not just in the movie. I mean, acting as a concept.
I think this actually was one of her last theatrical roles. I mean, she's still alive, but she more or less retired from filmmaking after this.
But there's a couple of sequences towards the end of the movie where she just like, God damn it. All right. I guess I'm in this scene.
Yes.
Well, it's like she didn't bother reading the entire script, and then when she agreed to take the role, and then she finds out what happens to her character, and then she's like, oh, fuck this.
Well, I don't know that she knew what happened to her character because the script for this movie changed 5 times.
I don't know what happened to her.
The moment they started filming to the moment they stopped filming, and they didn't even stop changing the movie.
Wow.
Don't believe me? Here's how The Exorcist II: The Heretic was received when it premiered on June 17th, 1977, mere weeks after fucking Star Wars. This thing goes up on screen, right? No film has like a better, oh my God, I've got to see this next one.
I think it had the biggest screen opening up to that point of all time.
Yes.
Like it opened up in 700 theaters, which is a lot for the time period.
Exactly. So like they anticipated a rush on the theaters, and a rush actually happened. And then people sat and watched it, and riots happened. I'm not exaggerating. People threw shit at the screen.
William Friedkin claims that people chased down Warner Brothers executives on the street.
Oh my God.
So according to his story, someone stood up in the middle of a screening and said, "The people who made this shit are in this theater right now." And they take off and run down the street, and were chased into a McDonald's by angry Exorcist 2 viewers. That's how badly this went over.
And you know what? I get it. I totally get it.
I wanted to throw everything I have in this office at the screen watching this thing.
Oh,
it is a real fucking stinkeroo. And that's coming, Gina, from two people who watched The Visitor and had a delightful time with that bullshit. I mean, if I never thought to myself, which older gentleman am I going to enjoy more walking aimlessly in khaki? Richard Burton here or The Visitor? And, you know, the fucking Visitor wins.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, The Visitor owns its insanity.
Yes.
Here, I think it is really trying to be a serious motion picture.
Oh, yeah.
Very deep.
Yeah, where, you know, John Borman himself said that he thought that the ending of The Exorcist was too bleak and that the devil had won, and that, you know, and this one he wants to make a version that offers hope, that offers redemption, that offers Richard Burton sitting on a city bus for 5 minutes straight.
Yelling at someone, "Put down your lunch and drive me to the end of this movie." God damn it.
This girl needs to get home. Trying his level best to do a "I'm possessed" voice.
Right. And you can tell everybody was just smelling an Oscar like, oh my God, I cannot wait to get nominated for this. This is going to be so big, and it's going to be and I'm like, it's not coming, baby. It's not coming. Like, I mean, because you can look at their faces and tell they were like, yes, this is going to give me another nomination. And I'm like, no. What are y'all doing?
No. I mean, and during the course of this filming, they're constantly changing the script. So they never know what movie they're actually making while they're filming it. And then after this reception of people seeing it on the big screen, Warner Brothers is like, this movie has to change, but we're not going to pay for new cuts of the movie to be struck. We're not paying for new prints. So Borman flies to Los Angeles and starts cutting individual prints of this movie, and they're flown back to theaters one at a time. So it is entirely possible that there's not one heretic. There's dozens. How many knows how many microscopic changes are different from one cut to the next? Because there's no one official cut of this movie. It's just in flux, baby. It's the wind.
That is scary. That is scary. I mean, it just reminds me of a recent episode of American Horror Stories where there's like this movie that drives people insane and makes them go crazy. And I'm thinking, like,
is it this movie? Because I could believe it's this movie.
Oh, I wish. Because but no, it's not. I just don't. I mean, that takes dedication. He must really thought that he had he had faith in the movie, you know?
Yeah. I think he thought there was a movie here that people should see. He smelled this and thought, there's something here. If only I can mold it. If only I can craft it, it will happen. And like the fucking home video release is 15 entire minutes shorter than the theatrical release of this film. And if you want to see both, I don't know why you would, but I own it. It's from Scream Factory. They have a double disc of this where you can watch both versions of the motion picture for yourself, if that is what you wish to do.
Were you able to tell, or have you watched both versions?
I've watched the home video cut originally. That's what I saw.
That's the longer version.
That's the shorter version.
That's the shorter version. Okay.
The longer one I didn't see until this Blu-ray's release, and I watched it one night and I kept falling asleep. And I watched it again the next day. I'm like, I was right. I should have fallen asleep. And then for this, I'm like, well, I'm not going to watch the home video one again. I'm going to watch the longer one because I'm dedicated. And it took a good 5 hours to watch this movie.
I had no idea. So I rented it on Prime. So I have no idea what version I watched.
Me neither.
If it's over 100 minutes, then you're into the longer cut. And if it's
boy, I think I got the longer version. Then.
I think I did
good
too.
For you.
I felt every minute of it.
I watched the hour and 57-minute one. That's why I was balking like, Jesus.
He won't help you in this.
I definitely don't. Between the last time I watched this and now, I don't remember so many scenes taking place in the Natural History Museum. I don't know why they decided to make that their rendezvous spot for these weird romantically charged scenes between Linda Blair, who's playing a 16-year-old,
right,
and Richard Burton playing a priest.
But she's 17. She's so much older.
Where, everybody seems a little in love with her in this, which is really uncomfortable.
I thought I was the only person who picked up their vibe because I was like, why he started off supposed to be, investigating Father
Marin. He's there to help clear Marin's name.
Right. And then he all of a sudden shows, and he's like become like slowly obsessed, with Reagan. I'm like, sir, where is this coming from? Like, I mean, it's like, what's going on? And then, oh Jesus, I'm about to say Veronica Cartwright. I meant, what's her name?
Louise Fletcher.
Louise Fletcher. Thank you. I'm sorry. She seemed like she was a mom. I'm like, you have all these kids in this big 2001 Space Odyssey like office that you have, and you keep going from each cubicle to the next, and these kids just sitting there like, they don't even know she's there. It's just the fact that she's just going from each room talking to the kids, and she's becoming very attached to Reagan as well.
Yeah. Right, like towards the end of the movie, she's like, I'm going to Washington. Let my kids know. You let your kids know. You're going to Washington.
Right, and then she's sitting there like, I'm in charge of, how'd she say, I'm in charge of Reagan, and I think that you need to go, just stay away from her. And I'm like, where is her mother in all of this? I know she's on what they say, on set somewhere.
Yeah, she's supposed to be filming a movie. Basically, I don't even know if they even tried to get Ellen Burstyn back for this.
But they tried, and she said, fuck no.
I'm sure she was like, I'm sure she laughed maniacally and hung up the phone.
Been there, done that. I'm gone.
Right. And I guess it's just me being so used to modern actors parenting and stuff like that, where they could just jump on a flight and go somewhere. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure all Sharon has to do is call her mom and be like, yo, it's happening again. And nobody
seems to think, well, maybe we should let Chris know what's going on. No, they decide that they're going to handle it. And then getting back to the thing with now everybody seems to be sort of weirdly in love with and obsessed with Reagan. Then you've got Sharon who's like, I don't know why. I just had to come back. I needed to be near her. And it's like,
no.
It's like, you don't say that about a child. That's very weird.
And you staying with her. It's like, it's not like you're in the next city or something like that. You're watching over her, so you're as near her as you need to be. Wait till she come home. But you mentioned that, I don't even know what scene it was, because I'm like, well, some scenes, Reagan was like always at the office. She was at school. Like, why couldn't you not know where she was at? It was just, she wasn't saying like she was just anywhere. You know what I'm saying? She just seemed like she was either in school or in that office. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I don't know. She's never seen going to school in the original film, and she sure as shit isn't seen going to school in this one.
No, but she's going to tap dancing school apparently.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
And oh boy, I'll tell you one of the reasons why everyone in the cast may have fallen in love with her, because next to Josie and the Pussycats, this is one of the most braless movies I've seen in a minute. And it's not that I'm looking for it; it's just constantly presented as such.
Well, also she is lit and dressed like she's about 30 years old.
Right.
Like she's coming out of her room and she's got this Victorian granny gown on that's like, poetically flapping in the wind. She's got the hair all blowing out and all. And I'm like, what, are you a ghost? Did you die? Is this Jane Eyre we're talking here? Why do you look like this? You are 16. It's 1977. You should be wearing a Leif Garrett t-shirt.
She reminds me of one of the teens from Gossip Girl, the original show and the new iteration, because they kind of dress very classy, kind of like that. But they look at it like high fashion. That's why I was like, she seems like she would be like a socialite the way she's dressing. She doesn't seem like somebody who would be stuck or like constantly going between a supernatural office where these kids are just sitting here. She seemed like she was gathering kids like X-Men villain or something like that. Like they had all special abilities or something.
I mean, the office that she works in looks like Candyman Incorporated.
Right.
It's wild. Let's just start going through the plot just a little bit.
Okay.
To call it that is
I don't
wild.
think we can do that and not be here for 3 hours because the movie doesn't know it. How are we supposed to explain what the movie's about and the movie doesn't even know what it's about?
Listen.
Well, I do know that we open on a shotgun shack somewhere in South America where we don't know. Any other country that isn't New York or a city that isn't New York or Washington, D.C., it's just somewhere in a vast, large country.
It's the whole continent. Like Richard Burton said at one point, says, I have to go to Africa. Oh, Africa? You're going to go to Africa.
Do you want to add like a north, south, east, or west to that one? Or
y'all, that irritated me to no end. I'm like, okay, where in Africa are you going? That's a vast ass country. Like not country, but continent. Which country are you going to? And then when you get to that country, which city you're going to? Like which, area are you going to? That's just so damn vague. Like,
no, you just get in a taxi and you go, take me to Africa, please. And then you end up in the exact right place.
Which they conveniently spotted in a diorama at the Natural History Museum. Oh, that's the city where Kakumo is. Oh, is it?
Yeah, totally. No, it's always been in that painting. So we open in South America, a completely different continent to the rest of reality than Africa, but it's not really presented as much here. And this is where we meet Father Peter Lamont. He's 225, maybe 210 without all the gin. And he's there to perform an exorcism. And you can tell because he's shown up with a large profile Pokemon card of Father Marin in his Bible.
And he is sweating. So
it's
sweaty.
very warm south of the border, Gina. You got a lot of vestments on. Once the faucet's turned on, it's hard to turn off.
I can't tell. Maybe he had stomach flu while filming this, but he is very, very sweaty.
It was disgusting. I just thought that little card, like you said, the Pokemon card in the Bible. I'm like, oh, he has a bookmark for Father Marin. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
That's his connection. Yeah, that's his connection to the first movie. Like, they knew each other.
Yeah, that's just like we all palled around together is what it comes down
I
to.
love what we need to mention real quick is that he is sent by the Vatican, I guess, or the Catholic Church to clear Father Marin's name because now apparently, with the Coke 2 of the Catholic Church, they don't want anything to do. They want to move away from the concept of the devil. And let me tell you, as a lapsed Catholic, they've never moved away from the concept of the devil.
No.
But now, this is bad PR that they're doing exorcisms. And so
but who knows about this, Gina? We never see anyone else go, oh, that's the girl who was possessed by a demon. No one cares. No one cares except the Catholic Church.
So he says, oh yeah, Father Marin was actually performing an exorcism, and then the priest's like, yeah, well, you know what, you're fired. We don't like that. We don't like that result. Isn't that what you asked him to do?
Right.
That is the exact fucking assignment he was given, Gina. And yet they're like, well, he done fucked up. You gave us the answer we didn't want. We want the answer we wanted. Why send this guy? You could have sent anybody and go, hey, just come back and say it wasn't fucking working.
Right.
An exorcism going on there.
Right. It's just like he understood the assignment though, but then he didn't understand the assignment, and therefore he got like, just thank you for going. We could have paid somebody to go actually do that, and but pretty much a fuck you without saying fuck you. It was a polite fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty much. And when we come to like exorcism talent, I think Marin had it really on lock in comparison to Lamont, because Lamont is basically asked by a group of random people from a random part of South America, por qué, to the point where they're like, why is this happening? Why are you talking? Why is all of a sudden everyone going, I don't get this. I don't get this at all. I know we were speaking Spanish up until this point, but now we're serious. Why is this happening? And this possessed girl goes crazy. She knocks a bunch of candles over, and then she goes up like a bunch of old newspapers in your garage, and we just get her face plastered onto a Pepper's ghost illusion of her burning. And you're saying, well, that sounds thrilling, and it does. But wait until I tell you, we smash cut from a burning woman to tap dance practice. That's right. This movie conflates a lot of death with tap dance.
I just have to know the creative process in the screenwriter deciding, okay, Reagan is trying to live like a normal teenager now. What do normal teens in 77 do? Maybe they're really into rock music, or maybe she's a bicyclist, or maybe she likes disco dancing. Nope, we're gonna tap dance to Lullaby of Broadway.
Make sure to put her in a velour half shirt with numbers on the back of it for no fucking reason. And just have her openly flirt with a sax kid who's playing this tune from what appears to be the Penguin's Lair from the shot composition. He's shot from above, cantilevered at 45 degrees like he's about to steal something from Batman.
I'm just speechless. That's all I can.
Of all the choices that they could have made to give this character some dimension, well, she's a tap dancer. Sure. Okay.
Sure. Why not?
No, I'm just saying, not just a tap dancer, but just she's a happy kid. She's a happy tap dancer with no. I guess they're trying to say she's happy after this traumatic exorcism, that demonic possession that she had. But it's just like, no, I think that she probably would have went into like, I don't know, some type of like pre-emo goth type situation or something like that. Or, I don't know. It just seemed like that just seemed like, I know that's probably like still dark, but it's just the fact that that's some heavy we can't curse on here, right?
No, we can. Fuck yeah, we can curse.
Okay, yeah, that's some heavy shit for somebody. And back then, I know they probably like, well, we don't want to say that he kind of won, but at the same time, it's just like, if I was possessed by a demon at the age of 12, I think that I would have been like, not as sociable, not as bubbly, more reserved and withdrawn. I don't know.
Well, there's this one scene where she is communicating with this little girl who's allegedly autistic, And the little girl's like, "Oh, what's the matter with you?" And she's like, "Oh, I was possessed by a demon." She's
So
like,
nonchalantly,
she
so
just says
nonchalantly.
it so casually, and she's just like smiling, like, "You know how it is."
You know, sometimes you fall down the stairs. Sometimes you get possessed by a demon. You know, bad things happen to everyone. It doesn't matter.
And the kid just like, you know, whatever.
But she's like, "No, it's okay. He's gone.
Is that actually not uncommon in this universe? People getting possessed by demons? Because the first movie made it seem like it was pretty fucking uncommon.
Right.
Well, she's also psychically talking to this little girl.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This thing
apparently cures her of autism with the power of her cute sundress. From what I can gather.
The power of politely talking to her, which is something apparently no one has done before.
No one has kind of leaned down and said, "Hey, you look a little glum. What's going on with you, girl?" And no one's tried this maneuver before. Only Reagan McNeil can do it.
She's telepathic and she's a healer. And I'm like,
she's a healer.
My God. And I will get to this rant later, my primary problem with this, but it's sort of centered on this twist here, this pulled out of their butt twist.
Yes.
Well, since we're talking about it, it has to be noted that when we were talking about characters, this little girl's mom is putting on one. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Is not just playing to the back row. It is playing specifically to the farthest part of Long Island.
Yes.
It's straight out of a silent movie. It's like she's been untied from the train tracks just before the train has arrived.
I like the idea that I love that she says, "Yeah, no, I can't have you talk to her anymore. I have to take her home so my husband can hear her." Madam, can I introduce you to a wonderful invention called a telephone?
Or he can come there. That's the other thing. It's New York City. Hop on a fucking train, and then you can all talk and maybe go out to dinner afterwards. Like, make a day out of it.
He would never forgive me if I don't bring her home and have her talk to him so he can hear her talk. I'm like, honey, you got to understand that this is not uncommon. This is not normal. We all need to sit down and just discuss what the fuck just happened here. Reagan, you go in one office and then we take you to the other office, and just be professional for once. Act like you know what you're doing.
The reaction of Dr. Jean to this, Reagan is, "Hey, don't heal my patients." What?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, Dr. Jean is I think she means, well, not a very good child psychologist. She's convinced correctly, more or less, that the film kind of goes back and forth on this, that Reagan has repressed her memories of the possession and the exorcism, and then feels, well, you know what, we should probably try to bring this out. Why would you do that?
It's a real good question.
I think Dr. Jean was a precursor to, I should know this character's name because I've seen this movie a gazillion times, but the evil doctor in Dream Warriors, except that she's like the other side of the token, it's like, she's nice, but she don't know what the hell she's doing. And the other doctor is like, no, all these kids just need to be put in the quiet room and, put away. She just, I don't know what, like, who recommended Dr. Jean to Chris and be like, "Oh, she's a great doctor. You just leave her in her hands and she'll be just..."
Yeah, just leave your child entirely in her hands.
Good news about it is everyone can see what she's doing because there's no fucking shades in her doctor's office.
Treating her very young patients with hypnotism and heart attack inducing lights.
Yes. The remake of 13 Ghosts, that house has more privacy in it than this fucking office does. And we learn this when we watch Reagan see that girl that she will later heal just get knocked the fuck out by a giant teddy bear. And she does shit all about it. She just watches it fucking happen. And I'm like, Why do I like this person? I've seen her tap dance and not care about a girl with obvious medical needs get knocked out by a teddy bear and her go, it's a Tuesday, and go about her business.
I mean, that was one of the main plot points that could have went somewhere. Can you imagine like Reagan's like becoming like this pseudo healer, and then all of a sudden it's not from her own fruition, it's actually the demon sitting there like quote unquote curing kids.
Sure.
And that could have been a storyline right there, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or, you know, just something that is just not like, oh yeah, by the way, she has psychic powers now, and she can pull people out of like deep, you know, situations and never go back to it again.
You know, they're much more invested in the Locust version of this story.
Their little locust cam. My God.
Yes. The opening of this movie has this. We're introduced to Dr. Jean under Reagan's care, and in the middle of that scene is when Father Lamont is talking to the Cardinal in Rome, and then we cut back to Dr. Jean's office. Reagan is in the same outfit, and who's there? Lamont. Did he fucking teleport? This motherfucker has Doctor Strange powers. He can move without any transportation help up until the end of the movie, and then he just gets grumpy at bus drivers.
I was going to say that we get a very long scene with them taking the train and then transferring to the bus.
We only see him take transportation 2 times. One with Ned Beatty, who's just off the fucking chain.
Right.
And one on a bus in which he's like, finish your lunch. I've got things to do.
So random. I was just like, that was the longest like transportation. Because my geography is kind of fucked, but I was like, so you could just easily just jump on a plane or a train and just go to New York. I'm not from New York to Washington, D.C. without a problem. It's just like, because when Sharon was telling Reagan, like, I have to go to D.C., and then she was like, oh, what's going on? Well, I'll be back by the end of the, it's just going to be for a few hours. I'll be back. I'm like, how?
That's like a 5-hour trip.
Right.
Well, on a plane, though, it's probably an hour. Like, I can hop on a plane from LA. I could be in Vegas or Salt Lake City in about an hour.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Las Vegas or Salt Lake City, but I can.
Yeah, but I guess I was looking at it from the standpoint of now there's got to be like, you know, availability, you know, maybe cancel flights.
He doesn't have any money. That's we already established that, because there's like a whole labored scene where she's rooting around his pockets, and and then the conductor comes up and she goes, oh, he's very sick, and the conductor's like, well, okay, just walks away.
It's the very sick exception. I guess you get to stay on.
Oh my. Yeah, it's just too much.
But the thing that this movie invests in heavily is this contraption that Dr. Jean has that goes wah 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 at you, and you go. It's like a hypnosis strobe or something.
It you can go into other people's subconscious or something, which seems to me not a very good idea, and I don't know how that can help people, but they don't really explain that too much.
No, it's a woo-woo thing. It's just made up, and I guess that's fine. Like so is being possessed by Pazuzu. That's not a real thing either. So I don't necessarily care, but I have always remembered a portion of the dialogue that happens as they're trying to match each other's tones and go deeper and lower. Right. There was a 12-inch remix of Big Audio Dynamite's Rush that used a small sequence of that dialogue.
Yes.
I'm like, what the fuck is that from? And then I watched this the first time. I'm like, holy shit, it's from this movie. There's no backup that I can show anyone online that is true, but I swear to fucking God, on the 12-inch of that song, there's a small segment when it kind of fades out where they use a snippet of this dialogue. And you're like, what kind of drugs were you on that you thought one day when I'm done with the Clash and I have my own band, I'm going to use that in a record? I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'm glad you said drugs, because when you was telling this story, I'm like, they had to have been on some type of narcotic. It had to have been some good shit, because for you to sit there and pull all the way to the Exorcist to the Heretic to pull a sound bite out of it, and it's and then nobody's gonna remember, like, unless you just really are like that hardcore of a horror fan and you really love that movie. But
yeah, I'm sure someone is about rage tweeting me right now with an explanation of how I'm wrong. All I know is it's not in the radio cut, kids. It's in the 12-inch. So using this magical device at Dr. Jane Ruskin's Center for Kids Who Were Exercised Good and Want to Do Other Things Good, Dr. Jean is then able to enter Reagan's dreams, where she's immediately attacked by someone in possessed Reagan makeup who is not Linda Blair.
Oh, this makeup is so bad. It is.
Yes.
It's like they got about halfway through it and they were like, fuck it, this is good enough.
Dick Smith would not pass for another 2 decades, and he was still rolling in his grave when this was done.
Yeah, she's only going to be on screen for 40 seconds. Who cares?
Oh my God. Oh, it is really, really bad. And we get to see Max von Sydow show back up in his old man makeup and go, all right, like the just make the check to cash. And
I was gonna say, for all the amount of screen time he gets and the amount of dialogue he gets, I still hope he got a nice fat check for this.
I hope so too. Yes,
I was shocked that he was in it,
because no one from this movie comes away with their dignity intact. Not a single person.
You mean you didn't find it dignified when Dr. Jean's left breast is massaged from both the left and the right side in a demonic tug of war?
I was like, what is going on here? Like, are they finna rip her heart out right here, right now? Like, what the hell is going on?
Are DPing her heart? That is what this movie counts as a suspense sequence.
Yeah, I mean, you've got James Earl Jones at like a jewel-encrusted locust head.
Listen, I didn't even know he was in this movie. When his name came across the credits, I said, get the fuck out of here. He's in this?
This is mere weeks after the premiere of Star Wars. So he is like flying high. Like, granted, he's not on screen, but his voice is so important to that movie. He is instantly identified with the biggest movie in the history of movies. And 6 weeks later, he's like, yeah, I appear in this thing where I show up about halfway through and roar like a jaguar, and the devil gets scared. That's his role. It's his fucking role.
I was dumbfounded when he did. It was like, okay, so this is okay. Oh, okay. So that's his contribution to this movie. It was like, okay, wow. Okay. I feel some type of way, but yeah, I feel some type of way.
Let's save a lot of Africa for when we get there. Just general Africa. We don't know the specific spot. Well, we hear after Father Bourbon speaks up and everyone bounces out of their trains. He has this scene where he must have been fed this dialogue via earpiece, or it was a cue card, but he's just standing in the middle of the room and going, "It was horrible, utterly horrible, fascinating." Was it? It doesn't sound horrible or fascinating. It sounds like you didn't know what words you were going to say until you read it off a card.
Right.
He's literally phasing out of a scene in the middle of line reads.
And he does that a lot in this. Like there are, quite a few moments, even before he becomes quote unquote possessed, which I guess that's what he was supposed to be at the end. Where he just his eyes just like completely just check out, and it's honestly really creepy in certain scenes, like the scenes that he does with Linda Blair, where again they have this weird, almost kind of romantic vibe between the two of them. Like he's like staring right through her. In a few scenes, it's like, God damn, man! Did you choose? Was this a conscious choice on your part? To play this character as if he's constantly having Vietnam flashbacks?
Right. 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 He just seemed like he was in a whole extensive, how do you say it? A midlife crisis, existential crisis, something like that. It just seemed like he was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but by God, I am here. And I
right,
want to go
and
through
the thing
with
is,
it.
like he's like that from the beginning, which makes you wonder, why was this the church's guy
Yeah.
to investigate this alleged exorcism?
Yeah, he's like father failure, just walks from scene to scene to scene to scene. And then he's handed a picture that Reagan has drawn of him, which we haven't seen art quite like this since Friday the 13th Part 2, Gina. This is Alice level art.
And I love how like Reagan is 16 and the woman's like, oh, she drew a picture of you. She's a very good artist. Like she's like your 6-year-old giving you a stick figure, I mean,
Father, do you want a magnet so you can put this up on your refrigerator at the rectory? Would you like that? Oh, I just he looks at it and goes, flames. And he runs after Dr. Jean. He's like, we gotta stop this fire. And he's like, I know what to do. When he runs into the basement, lo and behold, there's a couple of cardboard boxes on fire. And what does he do? What we would all do. What anyone with half a brain cell rolling around in their skull would do. You pick up a crutch and you swing at it aimlessly. He's fighting fire with a fucking crutch. Then this is, I'm supposed to be scared? Am I supposed to be frightened? Am I supposed to be laughing? I don't know. And he just looks at, and this goes on and on and on while Dr. Jean's on the phone going, wait a second, a fire extinguisher? Will that work? On fire? Okay. Picks up a fire extinguisher and walks over and just looks at him like, wow, a crutch, huh? And he's just swinging back and forth with a fucking crutch. Like fanning the flames with a crutch.
And
this,
what? And this was when my mind said, baby, this is not, no, this is bad. This is not everybody's like tainting your enjoyment of this movie. No, this is bad, because I'm like, dude, like a crutch, like what? It's all like, you're running like the damn whole hospital's on fire, and you're not, just like there's no fire alarms going off, anything like that. And then you find the source of the thing, and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I'm like, just put the damn thing out. And like, I'm like, you could have took your coat off and just threw it over there and just called, it just seemed like stomped on it. It just seemed like when he pulled it out, it just seemed like he made it worse because it was just smoke. And it wasn't until he pulled it out and then just like the fire, like, oh, air, finally air. Thank you for.
Oh, okay. That's an idea.
I think that's a running theme of Father Lamont in this is he made it worse. Like everything he does is he makes it worse.
And then Dr. Jean uses the fire extinguisher and the entire screen just goes gray with smoke for 5 seconds. Just empty fucking air. And you're like, is this a movie? Is the movie given up on being a movie? I think so. Yeah. Because the next scene is him and her talking to one another with their backs to the camera while they just wander around Lower Manhattan. And you're like, what the fuck is this film? Is it trying? Is it not trying? I don't know what's happening.
Yes. I think that's what they threw in the phone in the editing department probably as well. Like the editor's probably like, you know what? I have nothing. I'm just going to just piece what I can together and just do what I can. Sure. I don't know what to do with this because it was just weird. This whole entire scene that was walking around, she's going to like each group of kids, like, it's okay to go inside now. I'm like, why are they spread out like that? Why are they not like, in one big unit? Like you let the kids just wander off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like her and one assistant, like right. Handling all these, special needs children.
Right.
I don't know how she's not sued into the next, decade. I'm not entirely sure. Again, this is all fantasy. This is when we learned that Reagan has had a dream about a small village, somewhere in the vastness of Africa that's under attack from a swarm of locusts. And one child, Kokumo, bravely swings a thing around his head to ward off a locust attack. And meanwhile, Father Marin is like wandering around with a camera like he's on a beach vacation. Like, oh, this is great. Click, click, click. And, okay. Reagan, back in New York City, meanwhile, nearly walks off the balcony of her apartment building that has fewer railing safeguards than Michael's Place and Death Spa. And that is saying something.
Where she she raises doves in like these like Art Deco chrome coupes.
Yes. Like it's this Scarface's cocaine hutch. What the fuck is this apartment? And who would live there?
They're like, and there's like so many mirrors in their living room. Yes. It just looks like the climax of Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I was just like, oh, so Chris left y'all in nice digs. Like she just made anywhere y'all go to where she goes as a movie, she makes sure that y'all are living like large. But
yeah,
I thought that she was going to walk on air. That's what I actually thought she was going to do, because I'm like, why would they try to kill her if they need her, for like why would Pazuzu try to kill her, if they actually needed her for something? And that's when I was just like, I don't know what the hell is happening. Like,
let's just come out and say it, Mark. Pazuzu is a bad manager of plans. Okay. This is not how, like, we've struggled over the years with various, either villain or villain adjacent characters who've decided this is going to get me X is going to get me Y. Okay. Friday the 13th, 7. This telekinetic girl is going to equal $, $. How? I'm not sure yet, but when I drag her up to where her dad died on a lake, I bet you I come up with a plan. Pazuzu is in the same thing here. He is now attacking people who have the ability to heal. Now, grant you, that is a complete reversal of what is done in the first movie. Is holy shit. God. It cannot be a bigger like it is just the opposite of what is done in that first film. But Pazuzu, I would not allow Pazuzu near any sort of presentation that you were giving in a conference room. Would not, give them sort of an Apple Showtime file or anything according like that. Now, Gina, have I struck upon the thing that you wanted so desperately to talk about and rage against?
Well, here is I have a lot of problems with this movie, but my primary problem is the same one I have with a lot of unnecessary sequels, and that is they need to explain everything. There needs to be an explanation for why this happened. Mm-hmm. And we've talked at length before, Patrick, about why the Halloween movies suffer from the twist that comes up in part 2, right, in which you find out that Michael Myers and Laurie are actually brother and sister, and let's not even get into that Michael Myers is some sort of like pagan cult or something like that. That's a whole other.
The Cult of Thorn. We all know about it. Yes,
that's a whole other ball of wax altogether. But sure. There needs to be an explanation as to why he chose her, because simply the fact that she just came to his house one day is not good enough. There needs to be a reason why he's done this, even though the idea of someone just randomly picking on you to stalk and terrorize.
Because you dropped off a key. That's all he fucking needs. He stalks that kid. He stalks her. And the dog that comes in the house, he eats.
Right.
That's your explanation, everybody. Okay, right. Please continue.
Now here, it's like, well, why did the devil pick her? Well, does it matter? No. In fact, and there is an explanation in the first movie. It is because the devil wanted to cause despair. Yeah. So he picks on he terrorizes a child. He abuses and assaults a child. He makes a child's voice say you horrible soul crushing things to people.
Right. Yeah.
Because he wanted to bum people out. He wanted to make people sad. Here it was, well, you see, she's magical. She has gifts from God. She's a healer.
One of those gifts is not rhythm. I can tell you that right now.
Thank you.
And she's a telepath. And was this ever apparent before? Nah, but you know what? I mean, you know, the devil saw it, recognized it, and need to stamp that shit out.
Game recognizes game, Gina.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, why is it scarier? Why do we need an explanation for everything? It's better when you don't have an explanation. It's like when people complained about Cloverfield. Remember Cloverfield?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Please let me finish your rant so I can jump on their train right there.
People complained about, well, we never found out what the monster was. Why do you have to?
That was the point.
Right. You were seeing things from the point of view of people who were trying to escape this monster. At what point would it have made sense for them to stand there and have someone explain to them who the monster is?
Thank you. I'm so glad I'm talking to somebody who gets that. That is my biggest defense. That's my biggest defense when I talk to people about Cloverfield. The moment somebody would have came in and would have laid out everything that this monster is doing, would have took me completely out of the movie up to that point.
Why does it matter? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the fuck out of New York City.
They're running from a fucking disaster. We don't need the disaster's backstory.
Now, we don't need to know. We don't need to know why the devil picked her.
I agree with Gina 100% on this. Now, I told you guys I'm a sequel apologist, but when it comes to stuff like that, I agree 100%. Now, the movies y'all listed, I do love. However, when you unmask the monster, when you unmask the mystery of the monster's no longer terrifying. So it means like the scares of the original. Like you guys said, he just randomly picked Lori to come after and stuff like that because he came across her path. Right. That's creepy. It's just like, it's just when you don't know why shit is happening, that enhances the fear. It enhances the terror. And it goes a long way. I think the thing about The Exorcist, and I don't know why the director said it was a bleak ending, it's just the fact that you have to, I think what terrified a lot of people when they watched the original movie was the fact that this can happen to anybody. This can be anybody's child. The devil could come into your home, wreck shit up, and then, leave everybody in his wake very scarred. There was not a reason for us to understand why Reagan was picked. And I think that I don't know if you guys saw the Exorcist television series. I feel like that was a great sequel to this movie because it just carried on, that we don't know why it's happening. It's just happening. Yeah. And you just notice the stuff. You notice when your child or your loved one is becoming like really weird. And the one thing everybody goes to is, we'll just take them to a psychiatrist. But then it's stuff that the psychiatrist can't even sit there and help with. You just, it's something that you cannot fix. That is terrifying.
Right. Well, that's what makes the third Exorcist movie work so well is that, they went back to the bleak shit where Father Karras didn't die. He is still tormented.
Yeah, he's still his body is still and spirit is kind of still trapped on this plane, specifically again to bring sorrow to the world. Like it's thematically a part of it because again, Blatty is writing and directing that one, but we will get there. Before we do though, we have to buckle up for some fucking nonsense as this movie decides that looking at a picture in the Natural History Museum is like, I gotta go there, and he's like, and Reagan's like, yeah, that's where you're gonna find Kokomo, Aruba, Jamaica. Oh, I want to take you to Bermuda, Bahamas. Come on, pretty mama, let's go. Come on, fly the teeth of the wind and get over to Africa.
Pretty much, and that's because he's like, I found it on. I know that this body was here because I flew in the wings of a demon. It's like, that's not an explanation you want to give somebody. That is
again, just casually says this. I flew here in the wings with demons. We're like,
okay, that works. Okay.
It would be a great explanation to why are you late to lunch? I was flying on the teeth of the wind. I was Demon Pazuzu was showing me how to get here and find this guy who fell off a fucking cliff for no particular reason and hit every jutting rock on the way down. That's how I found this skeleton. And how is he thanked for finding this body? they just throw some fucking rocks at his head.
Right.
He takes a rock right to the bean, and he's fine. Like 2 minutes later, he's just like sitting indoors somewhere, not a mark on him.
Mark, is this where I apologize on the behalf of white people for this specific white people nonsense?
Well, I don't think you should do the apologizing because it should be whoever wrote this thing. It made no fucking sense, y'all. Is it just me, or would you smell a body? You know what I'm saying? Like, after so many years, you just, it was like, how do you know he was here? I'm like, you guys didn't fucking smell him? Like, what the fuck?
You didn't see this guy. Like, he's not that far outside of town. You know what I mean? Like, the rope to get up to that city is just like 50 yards yonder. Of course, that's where he fucking landed.
I mean, no crows came. I don't know if crows. I mean, I'm just like nothing. No animals was coming up there and dragging off pieces or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, alrighty then. But no, whoever wrote this script, whoever did this movie, and if I ever see Linda Blair at a convention, I'd be like, girl, what were you thinking? And I don't want to be that person, but it just be like, I just have to know, like, who. I mean, you said this was you.
Part of it is Borman. And part of it is his frequent collaborator, Rospo Pallenberg, who would go on to write and direct the very butt-obsessed 1989 slasher Cutting Class, starring Brad Pitt.
Oh, wow. Seriously? I actually like Cutting Class.
Well, I hate to tell you, Cutting Class was made partially because he co-wrote this, Zardoz, and Excalibur. So, like, he and Borman are deep. Like, they go together like peanut butter and the weirdest shit you've ever put on bread.
I'm glad you mentioned Excalibur because I love Excalibur.
Yeah.
Excalibur is absolutely incomprehensible.
True.
It is a victim of just being badly cut.
Yeah.
I think that John Borman, you edits the way a child cuts out construction paper to make a shape. He just kind of randomly slashes at it. There's like really no sort of precision or any rhyme or reason to it. So characters will just age 20 years between one scene to the next.
You're right.
Characters like one example of this in Excalibur is the romance between Guinevere and Lancelot, which starts with them meeting, and then the very next scene they're just like making eyes at each other. There's like
it also
there's
posits
no
a world in which you can have sex with armor on.
Well, that too.
Just like you're naked, I've got all this armor on. Lay back. Here we go, everybody. I'm moving this giant metal piece out of the way. It's time for Penis Town. I mean,
it's an incoherent movie, but it's also very entertaining and very nice to look at.
It's a vibe, right?
Whereas
you don't.
Whereas here, it's just like I don't know where the fuck I am. I don't know where anybody is, what anybody's doing, why there's now African folklore, quote unquote, introduced into this plot. Where even though in the first movie the origin of Pazuzu appears to be in the Middle East, but Middle East, Africa, who cares?
Maybe it's North Africa. Who can say? But once Father Highball starts to get that run by fruiting with rocks, this somehow affects Reagan when she's in the middle of her tap dance review, and she falls off the stage.
Well, because they do this where they go into each other's thoughts, and somehow that like connects them. Even though it doesn't somehow doesn't connect Reagan and Dr. Jean, who
exactly
she apparently does that with all the time.
The light throbulizer connects them.
I was like, wait a minute. So they're but how do I say it? I don't want to say psychically, but but they're linked mentally.
Yeah, they're psychically linked. Yeah.
Telepathic connection. Yeah. And
I'm like, okay, so why the fuck is like Dr. Gina's not experiencing this? Because didn't she connect with the Lamont as well?
She connected with both of them at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, she's told specifically to forget, so she's disconnected, and so she doesn't have to run off to Africa and then come back wearing a cool shirt from Dan Flashes. By the looks of it, now Lamont is a cool priest.
Yes.
Like Is he wearing sandals? We never see, but it is implied. You know what I mean? It's like that secretary in your office who goes to Jamaica and comes back with braids. Otherwise, you would never know she was there. This is the same thing.
Now, whoever did that need to apologize. Whoever did that needs to apologize. But okay, so I'm asking you guys because this is where I get super confused more than I was before. But when he leaves Kokomo's office,
yes,
and he comes, is he possessed then, or like what?
I think he feels like he knows how to somehow battle Pazuzu because he understands that Reagan needs to be disconnected from the touching of the wings of the locust. I understand. That sounds like babble. That sounds like utter bullshit I just made up. That is what this movie posits as a second act reveal. Where it's like, oh yeah, you got to disconnect her from her locusts. Like they're rubbing wings, right? Okay, sure. I'll run back to America first. I'm going to shop for a new shirt because, you know, I want to be presentable. I want to look hip to the kids. You know, if someone says, do you know jive? I want to say yes on the airplane. No. And then he arrives back in America and's like, let's go to a seedy motel. Right. You know, reconnect with the light throbulizer and we will get this done. And all he's told is, oh, you got to go back to Washington, D.C. And so he shuffles his ass to the bus terminal.
Oh, my God. I love, like, think of how dramatic and how iconic the shot of Father Merrin in the first movie going to the house for the first time is.
Yeah.
With the fog and the backlighting and his silhouette. And you know what we get? We get a bus pulling up in front of the stairwell. That's what we get. We get a bus.
Right. And it kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, so is it now a haunted house movie? Like, because you have to go back to where everything happened. So is the house still haunted?
Right,
like,
but that's not how possessions work.
Right. And I was like, so why are we going back to Washington, D.C.? Like, because at first I was like, maybe they just trying to get the movie to, they want to go like different places. They want to take the story to multiple locations across the globe or whatever you want to say. But it's like, but y'all still ended up in Washington, D.C. at this house. And it's now, which is destroyed by the end of the movie. But it's just like, why are we going back here? Like,
this feels like a studio note to me.
Right.
Like someone at Warner Brothers is like, we got to get this house into this movie more often because that is where people associate The Exorcist with. And they're like, okay, we'll have it crumble and tear apart when locusts attack. And you're like, that's your third act?
Yeah.
Three times watching this, I have no idea. Well, I don't know. No. I don't know why they have to go there. I don't know why there's a sexy Reagan there. I don't know why the locusts show up. I don't know why he has to fight Pazuzu by foxy boxing him and then ripping their heart out, which I don't. I mean, is he a person or is he a non-corporeal being? Because if he's a non-corporeal being, tearing his heart out should not do anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Sharon opts to set herself on fire.
Yeah, that's a mystery to me.
I don't.
Other than she's like, burn me now so I never have to be in another one of these movies.
I don't know why Dr. Jean just tells Reagan, yeah, just go off and follow Lamont. Your mom will be cool with this.
Yeah. This seems great. All this is totally rational. I'm sure when she comes to me and, you know, we've signed documents that I'm going to legally be your guardian, she's going to be super cool that I sent you off with the priest with the African shirt he picked up in the airport on the way back to New York City. You know, he just got off a phantasm bed. Why can't I trust him? Gina, there's another fucking phantasm bed. We found two now.
It just threw me for a loop. It just was like, what? That whole entire final act just threw me, and I was just like, when is this shit gonna be over? And I had got to that point. It was like, when is this going to be over? Like, what's going to happen? Like, is somebody going to die? Like, and I noticed they was doing I don't want to say the Pet Cemetery thing because this came first though, but it was like, okay, there was the Pazuzu was sitting there trying to stop Sharon and Jean from getting to them and stuff. And I'm like, because every little inconvenience, was like, oh, what's going on now? Yeah. And I'm like, honey, that's just normal. That's just, what I'm saying? That's not suspenseful. That's just irritating. Because can you imagine, like, you have somewhere you need to be. You're going to run into problems. They're trying to make it seem like it was this supernatural thing trying to stop. Like, no, that is just normal traffic and tomfoolery going on when you're trying to get to somewhere you need to be. That's just common.
It's really not hard to believe that there's traffic near Dulles Airport. And this movie is like, oh my God, it's got to be Satan, right?
Right. And then she gets out the car. It's like, well, I'm going to see about this. What the fuck are you going to do? like, well, she's a doctor. That don't mean shit. They don't give a fuck about you being a doctor. And you're a doctor from New York City, girl. Get back in that car and wait.
You have to understand, she cured an autistic girl from my beehive. I've got to get through.
Oh my God.
I just keep thinking, if I give this movie another chance, something, a beam of light will come through the clouds and I'll finally figure out what's happening. And it just has not happened yet.
Every revelation of like, oh, that's what they were trying to do makes it make less sense. And I think if you're just looking for the craziest nonsense movie you can watch, this feels like it should be that, because there are moments that are completely fucking bonkers, like the tap dance stoning, like that is ludicrous on another level. But there's not enough of that to make it as entertaining as The Visitor. Like, if you have the choice between this and The Visitor, fucking tap into The Visitor, baby. Get yourself some space satine.
Because I feel like The Visitor is there's a little, it's not a funny movie, but I feel that, someone involved in it understood what kind of movie it was and is a little winking at the audience a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is deadly serious.
Yeah. Yes. And that makes it more worse, because it's like when you're trying to be serious and you come across it being like, girl, what are you doing? Like, what are you? No, like, I can't take you serious, but y'all really think y'all are really, really getting into these roles and y'all really get into this story. And it's just like, if I was a cameraman or even a, what they call them, a boom operator, on set, I'd probably just like, God, kill me now, because like I have a mic to Linda Blair's face and Max von Sydow's face and Louise Fletcher's face, but it's like, God, can y'all hurry up and get through these lines, because this sucks. And I cannot believe you guys are sitting here eating all this up. Like, there's so much. You went past chewing the scenery to chewing my damn boom right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are y'all doing? And I was talking to a friend today, well, a friend of mine, about the movie, and they were apologists for it. They were like, it's bad, but it is, I love it. It's bad, but it's pretty enjoyable. And I was like, but so if you enjoyed it this much, I asked him a question, and he was like, oh, you're not trying to make sense of it, are you? And I'm like, you said you liked it. And they were like, yeah, I like it though, but it makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
No, but I don't know that a movie has to, quote unquote, make sense or be perfectly logical for it to be entertaining.
No, I mean, that's David Lynch's entire oeuvre is making movies that make no sense, but they're entertaining.
That are engaging, that grab you because you are wondering what's going to happen next, and you're actually engaged with those characters. And as a character horror podcast, this is not a movie rife with characters. It's just, these are people speaking lines. They were hired to show up. Like, yes, Ned Beatty comes on lines like, hey, this is what I do. I show up for a scene and I just wow you with a crazy monologue. And you're like, yeah, but this isn't quite network. You know what I mean? Like, right. This is not going to work. That's okay. He did just fine in life. So I think we're at the point where we need to choose your own death venture. And that is where we decide, of the deaths, as few and far between as they are, presented in this motion picture, which one would you choose to die from, and tell us why? Up for bid in Exorcist 2, The Heretic, we have burned to death somewhere down south, fall to your death from a very sheer cliff having your face hit every rock on the way fucking down, and no one can find your body. Locust-induced car crash, and then burned to death like Sharon, where she's like, I just don't want to be in this movie anymore. Mark, you're our guest, so I'm going to ask for your answer first.
I'll take burned to death because I don't want to be in this movie anymore. Because
are you burning to death right up front, or are you burning to death at the end with a nice set of culottes on?
Probably at the end.
Okay.
Because, well, you know what? I'm gonna take that back because the homegirl at the beginning, she sat there and said, I don't want no parts of this, and she just went on out. So if knowing now what I wish she knowing then what I know now, I probably would have did the first one, but I kind of like Sharon's death because I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, okay, there's gas. Does somebody have a match or something? Somebody got a lighter? Is she gonna pull out a lighter? And then she sat there and stepped on the light. I was like, ooh, interesting.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, ooh, interesting.
Sure. Why not?
Right.
Okay. Gina, what say you?
Probably because it seems like the quickest one, because in addition to being incomprehensible, Sharon also seems to take forever to die.
Yeah, she has to last long enough to say Reagan and then just pass out.
And then, like, I gave myself over to evil, like that fucking explains anything. I would take the locust-induced car crash because I mean that guy just got like a fence railing through his face or something. He went quick.
Boy, I'll talk about somebody who was pissed off because I was like, of course the black guy had to get. I'm like that. I'm like, wow.
Just a man doing his job.
He does punch out a window so he can see where he's going. I mean, he's really, really trying.
That was smart.
He dies in spite of trying to prevent everyone's death. So
exactly. The hero.
He might be the only hero in the movie.
The true hero of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna I can't do heights, so there's no way I'm falling to death from a sheer cliff. I'm probably gonna take that locust-induced car crash because you're going out a hero, and you're saving Dr. Jean's life, and she's gonna go on to do the most important thing in this movie, which is tell a 16-year-old girl, no, you need to keep hanging out with that guy with the African sweatshirt he's wearing underneath a suit coat. Go for it.
Right.
I'll take. So yeah, that's my choice, and I'm sticking with it. Before we go, of course, Mark, where can people hear and read more from you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Anti-Critic, and I'm mostly on Instagram. My name on there is Marco Estes, all one word. And then I'm also on Instagram as Midnight Social Distortion, all one word. And you can listen to my podcast, Midnight Social Distortion. And you can read some articles through Rue Morgue and the Counter Narrative Project, where I wrote an article entitled A Quick History of Black Queer Horror Characters. And my blog, which is midnightsocialdistortion.wix.com.
I cannot recommend your Black queer horror character study anymore. That's how I found you. I'm not sure who boosted it, but that was how I found you and how I started following you on Twitter. I think that's a fantastic piece of work, and I love everything that you do.
Thank you. And I love you guys too. I love your breakdown of each Friday and Nightmare movie. And that's why I was like, oh, they're breaking down each one and they're taking like an episode of piece. I'm like, yes. Because so many people try to lump everything into one podcast, like I'm doing like a dumbass. But I like how you guys broke it down. And it's some people do commentary on the films and they're kind of very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Snobbish with it, but you guys kind of make it funny. It's like I can enjoy you guys' comedy and your jokes about because some stuff you gotta laugh at and just take it as what it is. You can't take it too seriously, and you don't try to shit on it. So completely.
No, we save that for these kinds of movies.
Yeah. We saved that for John Borman films. Thank you, Mark. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. By the time this goes up, I will have reviewed the upcoming Malignant. So I'm looking forward to that. I am on Twitter under Porcelain72, and I am on Instagram under Gina Does Things. That's GENA Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Of course, you can find us on all the socials. Please rate and review us on iTunes. We've gotten some about once or twice a month. We're getting some new reviews, and that is very helpful. If you want to tell us what your favorite death was in any of the films that we've covered, we'll talk about it here on the air. That is our solemn promise to you, the Kill by Kill listener. Go to TeePublic, Kill by Kill. That's where you'll find our t-shirt shop with all our cool designs. And that will do it. We'll be back with another film next week. We have now concluded season 2 of Hannibal. Season 3, we will savor like the beautiful dish that it is, perhaps later down the line, but we've got fun stuff coming to you every single week through Halloween, because you know you like it spooky. And that does it for us. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself, Gina, and Mark. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace.